everyone, it's Jamie and welcome back to my channel. I am here today with a slightly different video that is not a weekly update. I was just getting my floss for my next full coverage project ready, and I decided that I would show you all how I do my floss for my full coverage projects. So for full coverage projects, all of my projects have their own set of floss. I don't work from a master set. I like to have just all of the floss for one project that I can pull out whenever I am working on that project. And the way that I do it is I use DMC floss cards, and they look like this. So I order the floss cards off of AliExpress. You can get, I think it's like 50 cards for $9 or something like that, which is fairly cheap. And then each of these cards there's 15 holes on each side, so there's 30 holes per card. And the way that I have my card set up is I print out the floss usage page for each of my charts, and then I tape the symbol and then the DMC number to the card so that I know which symbol goes with each of the DMC colors. So that is how I do it. And then obviously you have to pre-cut all of your floss, so I'm going to show how I cut all of my floss to put them onto the floss cards. So the project that I'm cutting up right now is Rainbow Basin. It's artwork by Emperor Pep and it's charted by Tilton Crafts, and I'm going to be starting this February 6th for a new start for my sister's birthday. I'm super excited about that. But yeah, so all the floss needs to be put on the floss cards, so I'm ready for my start. So I'm going to start with my floss. One of the ways that you can do this is you have to unwind this full skein of floss. So one way you can do it is you find the end of the floss that is by where the DMC number is, because this is supposed to be the end that you can pull and theoretically not get knots, but sometimes knots happen anyways. So we're going to start and we're just going to be pulling the floss out, and you're going to want to hold on to the one end of the floss. So just keep pulling. Like I said, fingers crossed that there's no knots. Going good so far. And then we have the other end of the floss here. I saved the color here so that I don't forget which DMC color this is. I think this is 3787. So you put the two ends together, and then we're going to be folding the floss in half so that we can find the halfway point. So we're just going to drag our fingers along so that we can get the halfway point of the floss. And then what we're going to be doing is we're just going to be folding the floss in half a bunch of times until it is the length that you want it to be on your floss cards. So there's the end, so that loop right there would be the floss folded in half. I take the loop and then I put the loop onto my finger like that with the two ends there. And then we're going to find the middle again, so just keep pulling the floss. There's the other one, and I'll put that loop with the other loop on my finger. And again, pull it. And there you have, there is the floss folded. So what I do is you cut the end where the floss ends are, so you can see right there is where the two ends of the floss are, so we're going to cut that. And then you have your floss cut and ready to go on the cards. Doing it this way, the floss is, I think it's 18 inches folded, so it's about 36 inches if you were to have it folded like that. I like to do loop start though, and so I like it to be 36 inches because then folded over, it's an 18-inch length that you're working with. So then to put it onto the floss card, what color was this again? 3787. So you find where the hole is there, 3787, and you're going to put the floss through the hole where the loop is. So the loop that's still on your finger, you're going to pull that floss through the hole to put it on the card. And then you take this end here and pull it through the loop, and then you pull it tight, and then your floss is attached to the card. And then I've seen people who don't use floss cards wonder how you get the floss off to stitch with it without having to take all of this off. So I will show that real quick. So you take a needle, and what you do is you take your needle and then you find you get put underneath one strand of the floss to pull off, and then you just pull, and you've pulled off your one strand of floss to stitch with. So that is how you do that. Since I'm not stitching though, I will put this back onto the card with the same loopy method. So putting it back on, same way, and then pull it. So that was the one way of doing it. And then I will show you could also do it where you spread the floss out into like a circle instead of just pulling, except I have trouble getting the circle perfectly without floss going everywhere. Okay, there is one of these that is not correct. I think, there we go. So you have it in the loop, find the end, and then you can just unravel it like that and pull it apart. So either way though, you still have to fully unwind the skein of floss and then do the fold over. What I am excited about for Rainbow Basin, and I haven't talked about it yet, is that I'm going to be stitching Rainbow Basin on a different count fabric than I normally do. So put the two ends together and then we're going to pull. I normally stitch on 28 count or 18 count, but I decided I wanted to try a higher count fabric, and I have stitched on a sample piece of 32 count and I didn't like 32 count, and so I had considered getting a 40 count and trying to do 1/110 on 40 count, but I'm kind of scared of 40 count. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I haven't stitched on 40 count before, so stitching on 40 count is intimidating. And so I ended up looking and finding a piece of 36 count even weave on 123 Stitch. It's by Fabric Flare, I think it's Fabric Flare. And I did a little piece, I did a small area where I tested out one strand of tent. And so I think for Rainbow Basin, I'm going to be doing it on 36 count, 1/110 stitch. So I'm excited because I've never done that before. And yeah, it's either going to be like really great and I'll love it, or I'll be back in February being like, yeah, I'm not stitching this on 36 anymore because I hated it. So hopefully it's not like a disaster, but we'll see how it goes. I'm kind of scared of 36. But I haven't really seen that many people stitch on 36 count for full coverage, and I think a lot of it is because you don't see a lot of 36 count even weave. A lot of 36 count is linen, so it can be hard to find even weave for full coverage. Let's see. So we're going to do another one. This time I'm just going to do the pull. I like doing the pulling method as long as I don't get any knots. I can already tell that this one is not going to go, wait, it's already kind of falling apart. So this is the method that I use now. For my first Heaven and Earth design projects, I used bobbins, and I ended up not liking bobbins that much because you have to wind all of your floss onto bobbins, and then when you're stitching you have to unwind to get your floss off, and then you have to wind it back up, and I just felt like I spent a lot of time winding and unwinding bobbins, and I didn't like that. And I also don't like, it was after I finished my first chart that I was using bobbins on, and I was like, okay, I have this chart finished. It used, I think, 89 or 90 colors, and then I wasn't sure how to put that floss into a storage system without having extra things of bobbins. Like if there was like 310, I didn't want to have a whole bunch of 310 bobbins when I finished projects, because that is what would eventually end up happening. And so I would end up having a box with multiple bobbins of 310 or other like highly used colors like 938, 939, and things like that. And so I ended up going from bobbins to starting to use floss away bags. So all of my extra floss is stored in floss away bags because it's an easy way to throw bobbins from projects that are still on bobbins. Or I can put extra skeins of floss. If a project has a lot of extra skeins, I can just throw them all into a floss away bag. And if I finish a project where it's on floss cards, I can just take this floss off of the floss cards and just throw it into the floss away bags. That's how all of my extra floss is stored. But for kitting up projects, I like the floss cards just because of the fact that floss cards are a lot smaller than floss away bags are stored in, what are they stored? I have all my floss away bags stored in the shoe boxes like this, so these take up a lot of space. So I don't really want to have projects kitted up like this because of the amount of space that these boxes would take up when I am stitching in my stitching area. So the floss cards, they're small, they can fit into these bags with the fabric, so I can have the floss and the fabric all stored in these bags, and so it doesn't take up a lot of space. So what color is this? 3727. And yeah, and then the other thing with bobbins that I wasn't a huge fan of too is if you have a piece of floss left over after you're done stitching, I would usually end up just throwing it away. Even if it was like a somewhat usable length, I just wouldn't usually not want to wrap it around the bobbin, and then it would usually get kind of messy when there was a bunch of shorter lengths of floss wrapped around the bobbins. And yeah, I just think that I'm not a bobbin person anymore. And also, I have some of the floss that's on my floss cards now where it's from a different project where it was on bobbins, and this is what it looks like now. So you can see that the bobbins left a lot of like bends in the floss, and it's kind of a mess now. So I think I only have one project left that's on bobbins, and it's Tarot Town 2, which is now my oldest project. So I'm excited that like whenever that's done in like 50 years, I'll finally be able to not have any projects left on bobbins anymore. That will be exciting. I've actually considered just switching it over to floss cards, but I also don't really want to spend the time right now putting them all onto floss cards right now. So finish this color, and then I will go, so that you're not watching me cut floss forever. No knots, please. Oh gosh. I see it not coming. Okay. It was avoided. It didn't turn into a big knot. So fold it in half. And this method is a method that my sister told me about, and she said that she learned about it on Facebook, because Facebook is where it seems like all the information ends up coming from. Okay, so fold it in half, the end where you have your two ends, and then snippy, and good to go. This was 208. If I can get it on the card. So putting it on the card, you have the little loop through, and you just pull the floss through the loop and pull tight. You're good to go. Alright, so that is how I have my projects, how I have the floss kitted up. Use the floss cards. I like them a lot. This is, like I said, is my favorite way of doing floss now. And I've done bobbins, I have done the floss away bags in the shoe boxes, and now I am preferring to stick with the floss cards. So I will see everyone in my next video. Hopefully that will be next week with a regular weekly update. Thank you everyone for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Bye.